Hi guys, it's Junior. I'm just waiting for the YouTube thing, as always, the YouTube confirmation, and I'll be with you in a second, as soon as I got the confirmation here. Good. Okay, we are live, and Amanda's here with me as well. And if you watched the episode yesterday, I know it was a bit, heavier than usual, but not in a bad way. It feels like the right thing to do as well. Um, but yeah, I just want to send my appreciation if you did watch that as well. And if you didn't, I would invite you to watch. It was quite emotional. I mean, from us, from our side as well. But I think it really reconnected with the purpose that we're here to do as well, with myself and Amanda, and how we started, the alchemy chat as well. And I think it's really connected with, the alchemy as well, which is alchemizing grief. So the episode yesterday was about grief. It was about loss. We shared some of the personal experiences. It was quite personal for us as well. And it felt good today. Like I was, as usual, we have our little chat just before we jumped in, and as well, like just connecting the energies as well. And it's interesting just bringing it up as well. I know that our consciousness is different, and I mentioned this in one of the episodes, I think 2 episodes ago as well. My consciousness junior by myself is one, but once we put with Amanda, it's a different, it's like, I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but like when you add one mind plus another mind, or one soul plus another soul, it's bigger than just one plus one. There is an expansion and so on. And as soon as we join live with you here, there is a third, bigger perspective into it as well. So it's interesting to see that kind of, almost that sequence of like Junior connecting with Amanda, Amanda and Junior connecting with the world now, and you that are watching here as well. So, and for today, our intention is to go for the next stage of grief. It's almost like when we lose something, and there is a sense of loss, and Amanda put it beautifully as well. There's not just loss of someone that we love, but it could be a loss of something. It could be when we transform a conditioning thought as well. There is a space that is created there, or when we lose a job, or when we lose when we fail on something, there is, almost that sensation of something died, and that there is not, I don't know what to do. And the mind tend to go like, because our mind is projected, to keep us alive, and there is the ego and all this stuff. And I'm not telling it in a bad way at all. You see, it has its function and it helps us and everything, but it can freak out. It can, lead us to places of like really anxiety, fear, and everything. And as we explained it in few episodes, all of that is actually to help us to connect with the person of who we really are. Going back to the same, the same things that we mentioned in so many episodes again. Um, so that's what we're going to talk about. So what, some of the ideas of what we can do as soon as we have that space. So if we lost, someone that we love, I think is one of the most painful, and it could be, I think that there are two things that really hurt for me a lot in life, in terms of, the disconnection sometimes with the mind and the soul. It's when you have a heart broken, by, finishing a relationship, or, and it can be any relationship as well, even with friends and family and so on, that are alive and still, or when we lose someone that gone from, being alive to dying and passing away and so on. So that two, from my memory, two of the most kind of painful, physically you can feel those emotions in you. And once that happened, what to do next to not kind of prolong that, period of grief and everything else. We can, there's nothing wrong, and we're always going to have, our own time and space to go to grief.
Yeah.
But what to do after that? What to do with that space that is now in our heart? What's that space that is in our soul? What's the connection between, how does the soul, how does the spirit, or this, life that we have inside of us, this non-physical part of us, take, death and everything? And how does our mind behaves with that as well? And how can we align the two as well. So that's why we're going to talk today.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I love that. I love how you put that all together, Junior. And I just wanted to thank you again. I know we had a chat before, but I just thought the courage and vulnerability in your intention yesterday was, I don't know, I thought it was awesome. So thank you very much. And again, continue with this today. I think one of the things, I think in emotion, if we've not taught how to feel it, because sadness hurts, doesn't it? The emotion around loss or grief is sadness. And I think when we don't know how to feel that pain, it can stay stuck. And what happens is if we have a loss or a grief, whether the Junior said, whether it's a person, a loved one, a situation, a status, a conditioning, a behavior, when the mind is on its own and it's kind of forgotten its heart and its soul and everything it's connected to, the goodness it's connected to, can be very scared of loss because, first of all, it's very scared of the pain. So the mind's constantly looking for ways to try and protect you from any sort of pain. And also it can be very afraid of the space, as you said, that comes in from a loss. The mind on its own can be very afraid of that. There's been a loss. And when something dissolves from our life, there will always be a bit of a space as the new comes in. Now that space can either be filled up again with old patterns, because what life is always wanting to do is always wanting to help us to grow and evolve and remember the love, the worthiness, the value, the grace, the serenity, the joy, the creativity that we really are. So it's always creating situations that can help us to see greater truths of who we are, and also any limiting beliefs, any stuck trauma that we're ready to heal. So nothing that happens is a punishment. I know that's something we keep saying, it never is. But the mind gets confused about loss. It sort of sees it from that limited place. So it can think it's a punishment. I did something wrong. It's my fault. I don't know who I'm now going to be without this situation or person. When we allow ourselves to do what we're saying, as you did yesterday morning, you so helped your family that you hadn't cried, that yesterday morning you knew it was that time of courage to say, I'm gonna go deeper. I'm gonna connect with myself, and I know it's gonna hurt. And that's the courage, isn't it, to go into that. But when we do it from that heart-centered place, from that space within, from that presence awareness, we can hold that pain. We know it's a space that pain isn't going to engulf us, and we can be with it, we can hold it, we can say, this really hurts. This hurts like hell. But I know it's not all for bad. I know, I don't know what it is yet, but something within me says, there's hope within this. There's love within this. There's growth within this. And we're not insensitive enough to say to somebody, oh, that's what you need to go to straight away. As you said, there's a journey with that. But our soul knows that when it says to our mind, our heart says to our mind, that wisdom, that grace, it's okay, sweetheart. I can see how much you're hurting, but you're not on your own with this. You're really not. It is going to hurt, and we're going to be here with you. And whatever comes up in this space, it's to be healed, it's to be loved, it's to be nurtured back to full health. And we can say to that mind, you're not on your own with this. That's where the faith and trust comes in. And then what the heart and soul knows, and then it opens up the mind that's connected to the heart and soul. That's when we can receive maybe the understandings, the insights. I wonder, there's like a deeper reason for this to happen. What if this is an opportunity? And as you shared yesterday with your uncle, it was like you were saying, gosh, the loss of my uncle, I can see it's given me an even deeper understanding of my purpose, why I'm here, what we're doing here, what we want to share. So by going within your heart, there was a a deeper reason for that to happen, but you could still feel the sadness. You could still allow the waves of sadness to come in and subside. There was a crescendo, you felt it, then it subsided again. And within that space that can be very subtle, to the mind, it can feel very empty and nothing. And the mind's scared of that because it will say, I don't want to go into that space of nothingness because I'll die. But we can just keep reassuring that part of ourselves that's scared to go into the pain, that's scared to go into that space within, because it's within that space that we reconnect with that deeper presence of who we are, that stillness, that peace, that allowing, that serenity. Even when there's intense pain in there, we are the space around that pain, so it doesn't have to overwhelm us. And also, so the mind will say, well, who am I going to be and what's going to happen? And our heart and soul says, you remembering who you are. That's why the situation's happening, to remember more of who you are outside of that person or that situation or that thing that's gone from your life. It's a remembering, a deepening. And then as we allow that sadness to be healed and return to the source energy, as our hearts open again, what's underneath sadness, grief and sadness, when you enter that space, that's when love and an opening to joy always comes through. And it's, we're not saying that's easy, because to get to that place, our mind is always wanting to protect us from pain. And that's why when people have a grief, they get very distracted, or they'll get lost in the anger, they'll get lost in the blame. And there's a process. But I worked with somebody whose son had died nearly 10, this is a long time ago now, so it's more than 10 years, but her son had died 10 years ago. And she was so angry still. And I didn't meet her through work, I met her through a different situation. And I remember her saying, I can't get over the anger. And if someone talked about their sons, she was angry with them. How could they be so insensitive? And as I just held that space for her, when she was feeling that intense anger, you could feel that that anger was protecting her from the pain of the loss. And I don't know if she was in this lifetime, she did that, but that anger was protecting her. The blame, the anger was protecting her from, I can't feel this, it hurts too much.
It's interesting. So it's like an extra protection that our mind puts in there to not go into the grief or to the pain and to acceptance. I think the word that is coming to me is to accept that. And it is interesting because the comparison in our mind comes there. And like even bringing this lady that you mentioned, for example, she lost her son 10 years ago, and then it comes at comparison. How, how can they be so insensitive with me because I lost my son, and you're talking about yours and talking about everything that is going on and how happy you are, but that's making me feel worse. And again, it always kind of take me back to your own power, because we can't control what other people will say, but we can control how we feel. And again, and if we're avoiding to go into that pain, and then we're masking it with anger and with, resentment and all the, the other feelings in there, but not going into the pain and going into acceptance and just being there with it, it will just become like a snowball or something that will stay there, and it will kind of keep that energy inside of you without dealing with it in that sense. So it's just going back to the loss as well, it's just how we deal with it and how we kind of embrace it, how we can accept it, even though And as Amanda was sharing, it will be painful. It will hurt. But avoiding to go to the hurt, avoiding to look at the wound, avoiding to clean up the wound. And it's like, just going back to the situation that Gabor and we had a few weeks ago, like when, Charlie, our dog, bite his lip and everything else. And then it was very vivid. It wasn't easy to look at it. Do you see, like, but we could just kind of mask it up and say, no, we're not going to the hospital because it's going to hurt even more, because they're going to open up. They're going to, look inside. They're going to, I don't know, check if there's any pieces of, I don't know, beard, or if there's anything there. You have to wash it up. It is painful. It's not easy to look at. And then, like, even when he was showing me, is he all right and everything else, and I get to tell the truth as well. And just looking at the wound, and it's not easy. It's not something that, but we know in terms of a physical thing, we know we get to ask for help. We get to, go into it. We get to open it up, wash it off, put the, the plaster, do the stitching and everything else. And now we can allow it to heal in that sense. And
no, sorry, Julia.
No, and then from that healing, then you can see, you can allow, your body to heal that. And in the same way, with the pain of losing someone, avoiding to go there, it will just keep that thing on going over and over again.
Yeah. And I love the way you've explained that, because there's nothing wrong in the denial, the anger, the guilt, the blame. They're a process, aren't they? But as you're saying, by coming at it from that place within, that place of presence, that stillness, and we're not labeling it, but we know there's always this, we come from love. So from that space, we can hold that pain. We know this grief doesn't last forever. We know this pain is not going to last forever. So by holding it, and intense emotions, when you really just sit and hold them with no thoughts around them, and just, I'm here with you, I'm holding you, not on your own, they really don't last more than 2 minutes, because we're feeling them, and our thoughts aren't feeding, creating more pain. So when we hold a pain that we've come out of our head, so the thoughts aren't continually feeding, creating the pain. So our body's reacting, isn't it, to, so maybe it says, I'm not safe anymore. I'm scared because I'm going to be my own. Maybe I won't be socially accepted by this loss. I mean, all sorts of ideas can come up. It's brought up my abandonment issues, that person rejection, it can bring up all sorts. But when we can calm that mind and go into our body and say, I'm here with you, I just want to feel you, that's when the emotion can be fed. And then that's when it can, like the wave of sadness, it then just subsides. That space is opened up, and then the new can come in. Well, actually, I'm not on my own in this space. My heart's cracked open, and God, I can feel that person there. That love's come back, that love we have. And you don't even have to say had, because that love's still there. When I think about that person, they still exist. They've not, when someone or something dies, they don't just be evaporated. There's, as you said, there's a memory that they still exist. They exist within us. And that's what I think we're wanting to say, isn't it? That even for this wonderful woman who was so angry, she was telling me things. I would never have said this to her, but you could feel, as you quite rightly picked up on, it was that intense powerlessness. How could life do this to me? And I remember as I was talking to her, and it wasn't really a situation that you could kind of do a deep conscious healing with her, but I could feel at the side of her, her son had never left her, and he was joyful. You know, he was in a good place. All he could feel for her was love. And he was there, you know, just behind the anger, just behind the blame, just behind the, victimness, the powerlessness. How could life, and it was very childlike energy. So I could feel that either ancestrally or within her life, she had suffered a loss and abandonment. That her son was almost, it makes me cry actually, dying so young. He was a teenager, and I think he was about 18, 19, he'd left university. He was almost stood next to her saying, that's what we agreed to do, because it's a huge opportunity for you to heal all these wounds and traumas that we're carrying ancestrally, that you're creating this life for your family. But there was no blame or judgment on her. He was like, oh, for God's sake, Mom, get on with it. He was just patiently, and he kept trying to talk to her, because she'd say things like, I keep seeing white feathers. And, you know, I was sort of stood there thinking, God, he's so communicating with you. And she'd have brief windows where you could feel she was telling me, it was a lot. I was with her for quite a long time. I just was listening, but you could see, they should have been told that when a robin comes, and so this robin is always in my garden, even when it's not in season. And I was sort of going, do you think that could be your son? You know, and she didn't know me, so I was trying to give her messages without. It was very delicate. I didn't want to overwhelm her with, well, your son's by your side and is talking to you. And I'm just saying, God, I can really feel your son through you. And what a wonderful person he is. And you could see she was, you know, but you could tell that I think she would probably have needed help to go into that intense blame, that powerlessness. How could life do this? He was my light and joy in this world. He was my reason to live. And he said, I had to die for you to realize you are so much more than me, you know. And it makes me emotional thinking about him, you know, the love he had for his mom was, or her soul. I'm willing to die young to save her.
I feel, and again, it's, I just want to highlight a few things. It's not like that he had to die; he chosen to die. Do you see what I mean? I love and some people might look into this like, what's Junior talking about? You know, did someone choose to die? And then I'm talking about more this spiritual level, and you know, the soul level, and of course there will be different philosophies, and you know, you're perfectly fine, you know, to disagree, and if you want to comment below that, please do. But I'm saying, if we think, because it's so easy for the mind to take, you know, the blame, and you know, like, oh, what, and then the blaming other people, or the shaming yourself, or you know, becoming a victim. You can become a victim of yourself in that sense, of that mom is being specific. But it's the idea of like, I heard that story a long time ago, the two little souls that they were like in the, you know, you heard the two little souls that they were like in this, you know, in heaven, whatever we call it, in the conscious souls, and like, we want to feel life, we want to experience life. And then they decided, you know what I mean, or I want to experience forgiveness. I think that's what this story that I heard once. And then, okay, so I will hurt you so well that you're going to have to experience forgiveness, because I can't experience forgiveness by myself. So let's go to earth, and then I will, you know, do something, and then you're going to experience forgiveness. How would you taste honey if you don't have honey to taste, in that sense, in that way? And I truly believe like we all kind of almost, we're co-creating this as souls, as spirits, and we co-creating these experiences, which is sometimes it's painful because someone, you know, mistreats us, and so on. Sometimes it's painful because we lost someone, like we were mentioning this one. It was almost like a unknown written agreement before we come here, almost as the son and the mom. You say, can you help me out to go through all of this, or to feel this, and so on. And the other thing, as you're sharing as well, Amanda, the other things that were coming to me is that every single one of those emotions that she's feeling, the anger, the disappointment, the blame, the complaining, the how dare they, you know, talk about their son, and wow, I'd lost it, and everything else. It's literally, I love how I can see now the communication between the mind, the body, and the soul, because It's literally your body saying like, ooh, you can feel anger. There's no way you can't feel, the pain is there. You can feel the pain, you can feel the anger, you can feel the frustration, you can feel the blaming and everything else. You can feel it in that sense. And it's nothing more than your body, hey, do you want to pay attention to this? And it's almost like, the GPS that goes in the car and you take a different direction and it goes like, look, turn right, turn right, turn right, turn right. And then, no, turn left because you've done this way. And it's just showing in different signs, which is the emotions telling you, turn in, turn inside, turn inwards, pay attention, just stop for a second, bring into that space, get into connection with what's going on. And I feel that that's the beauty of, it doesn't matter on which stage you are. It doesn't matter if it's denial, if it's anger, if it's frustration, if it's blaming, whatever it is. It's life just telling you, it's just talking to you right now. And you can follow that sign at any moment you want. Your GPS is there telling you, turn right, turn left, turn inwards, turn inwards, turn inwards. And you can listen to it at any time you want, or you can finish the journey without listening to it. Is absolutely fine. And it's our choice.
Oh, I love that. I know it's a catchphrase. I love how you've
we got to create t-shirts for you. I love that t-shirt.
Grayson shut that door. I was like, I love that, because we're not making anyone wrong for being there. We're not saying that's wrong, and that's somebody's journey, isn't it? But we're saying that everything that happens, it's always to bring us within. And when we go within and hold that space, I can always say it's a returning to love. It's a returning to trust. It is a returning to joy. It's a returning to renewal. And I've found that also there's little fractured parts of my consciousness that have forgotten who it really is. Whenever there's been a deep healing, and people I work with as well, it's almost like that little part of ourselves that's always quite childlike, because unconsciousness is normally created in childhood. So it will feel quite childlike, but it's almost saying to that part of yourself, hey, honey, it's like our heart, like that self-parenting, self-partnering. I can say to that little fractured part, hey, honey, you don't have to go through this grief and loss on your own. I'm here. You don't have to do all this on your own. Come home. You've been amazing. It's for me, I think that's always the hero's journey, when we allow that conditioned, separated, fractured, survival-based, conditioned mind to come home. That's the hero's journey, because it's brave to do that. And it is that letting go. And there is a space of, well, I don't know what I'm jumping into, because I can't see yet. And that's where we say to the mind, you're jumping back into your heart, you're jumping back into love, you're jumping back into wholeness, you're jumping back to something holding you. And I remember as a young child, and I didn't understand it at the time because it wasn't a religious household, but I remember when something happened, I'd feel these huge white angel wings come over me. And because I didn't understand enough, I just trusted that when that happened, it was like a beautiful light came around me. I didn't have to deal with anything outside in the world. And I just instantly dropped into love and safety and peace and serenity and stillness. And I know now what was happening then. And I also know that was, again, this is maybe going on a deeper level, that was part of my higher self going back to help my younger. That's a whole other subject, how our consciousness time travels. But I get that now. So the self-partnering, it's that bit where we can say to ourselves, and as you were saying as well, when we have someone that loves us, they can be the ones that can say, it's okay, honey. I'm just going to hold your hand while you're hurting. I'm here. You're not on your own. You are loved. It's okay. Tell me how angry you are. Tell me. When my husband died, I remember being really angry and saying to God, but you knew this wasn't what I wanted for my children. You bloody knew, and yet you did it. You bastard, you know, I remember being livid with him. But sitting here now, and after sharing this with you yesterday, I thought, gosh, you know, no, I wouldn't go back and choose it again. But who I am now is so different.
The things that came to me again, it's like, even knowing what you know now, I feel this is something that I always, if you knew that he would pass away, when he passed away and everything else, we would have chosen to leave that moment that we have left,
Yeah.
leave that person. Do you see what I mean? I feel, yeah, and especially for us, I mean, anyone that, lost someone that they love and everything else, regardless of when they passed away, if we knew that would happen, we would have chosen to be with that person for that period of time and to have that experience, and possibly even thinking of how could I enjoy even more that moment. Do you see what I mean in that sense? And we can enjoy even that moment. Like, again, we can talk about time and how it works out in another episode anyway, but you can embrace that. And I feel there is a couple of things that I want to get to the end of towards the episode today, but like we can talk about more of this stuff. But there are a few things that came into me. Like, one is, you can have that, that angel wing that Manda was just saying, and really embrace yourself, let's say, to feel that pain, or to embrace the new idea of that person that passed away now. So, the space that we mentioned, like that the physical person is not here anymore, can be transmuted, transformed into this light that you can bring to your heart and be with that light anyway. And throughout the conversation today, the other image that was coming to me is that we know that it goes deeper into a different perspective here, but like, we know that the people that are around us, they exist because we believe they exist. It's in our mind. Amanda and ours, we are here, like, yeah, physically and everything else, but you allowing to see what you want to see from this now as a person, in that sense. And you allowing to see, if we disappear from here, but there's just the video and everything here, and we are not in this world anymore, you can create that version of the Junior or Amanda and everything in your heart, in that sense. And in the same way, you have a version of every single person around you, alive or dead, in that way. And we can transform that version. And sometimes we feel, and it's interesting, like sometimes when you judge someone that you don't know very well and everything, and they're like such a horrible person, I wouldn't connect with them and everything else. And then you get to know them a little bit deeper, and you transform. It's not that the person transformed physically, it's just the way that you transform inside of yourself, the way that you look at that person. The same way that if someone passed away from this life, you can transform the way you're going to have that relationship with that person inside of you, because the relationship at the end of the day is an internal relationship between soul and soul, life and life, energy and energy. And the physical touch, yes, is great, what I mean, to touch, to hug and everything else, we can feel closer. But even when that's not there, you can still have that relationship with the memory of what you have, the energy that you have with that, and then so on. Yeah,
I love that. And we're saying it's opening up to our bodies, isn't it? It's opening up to what we're feeling. It's opening up to a deeper part. It's when we open that we can then become receptive to the deeper reason for everything happening, isn't it? And that's when we can then see the inspirations, the clarity, the newness as well. And as you're saying, that's when you can become open to, okay, I'm going to have a different relationship with this person then. I have a different relationship with myself. I'm going to be different. There's the potential, isn't it? You open up that potential, and I love everything you've just said, because it all is perspective, isn't it? And even if we can say to ourselves, well, I'm going to be my highest self. I'm going to be my most loving, my most wise version of myself. And may that be everything that shines through me and speaks through me. And if anything that doesn't match that, please, allow me to see that so it can be healed in that light. And as you were saying, even so quickly with your uncle, you're able to connect with him and see, yeah, he's still here, and I can feel him urging me on even more by your side.
Like with this uncle in particular, like I had, a few moments in my life which I met with him in person. Do you see? I live, abroad, from Brazil. I live in the UK for about 15 years. And it's probably, I don't know, when I went to Brazil 10 years ago when I saw him in person and so on,
Yeah.
our relationships were kind of always kind of distant. Do you see what I mean? It's not someone that I'm with them all the time and so on.
Mhm.
But the image that I have of my uncle, the connection I have with him, to be honest, is deeper now
Yeah.
than it was before. I'm not saying that, it was bad or anything else. It's just, I feel like that he has more time and space to connect with everyone now. Do you see what I mean? He's not
Exactly.
restricted to a physical part or a physical image that I had of him. In that sense, I can connect even deeper because at the same time that memory that of him that is with me now, I know it's with his daughter, I know if he's with his wife and with his, son and, my family and with everyone that were there, what I mean, and the funeral yesterday in that sense. So I feel, yeah, it's actually is not a disappearing but an expansion of who we really are at the end of the day, and an opportunity to actually connect with even more people and to help them like he helped yesterday on getting clearer on my purpose. In that sense, what a beautiful gift
Already.
already that he wouldn't be any otherwise as well. And I just want to, kind of, summarizing or ending this to you guys. I know some of us, hearing these things, we're going to be in denial. Some of us might be angry. Some of us might really connect with the loss and be sad and everything else. And any of those stages is absolutely fine for you to be there. And it's literally your soul, your GPS, or whatever you want to call it, calling you back inside to connect with that. And you can choose to do that at any time, at any moment you want to.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you have to do it now. You will find the right moment. Your soul knows what you get to do through to it as well. So, and just to let you know as well that you have the support around you anytime you want. It's in you, it's around you, and you can look for, a friend, a family member. It can be to a guide, what I mean, in terms of like something more spiritual if you want to. It can be physically through a therapy, through, and even like medication. I know how much my grandmother, after my grandfather passed away and she went through, depression and antidepressants, but it was her journey to go through it as well. So
Yeah.
I know that you will find your path in that sense as well.
Yeah. And just a final words from me is that our emotion, when we allow ourselves to go through the emotion and feel it, it it opens up the space to go back into our hearts. And that's where that love, that connection, that person now resides,
Yeah.
the greater is. So we understand we're scared of pain, but with the right understanding and the right guidance, everything's possible. And you're not on your own with this.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you guys again for being with us. And yeah, and you're truly not alone. I mean, you're much bigger, as we always say, what I mean, than what our mind may project. And I love what our mind can do, and it's helpful. We're going to talk more about it as well. But the illusion that we are just this sometimes, it can feel very real, but you're much bigger than that as well. So I'll see you guys
Yeah.
on the next episode as well. And yeah, if there is anything that connected with you, that feels good to comment or to connect with us as well, then yes, please do. If it feels good to share this to someone that you love, that you feel that it would benefit from listening to this or even the previous episodes as well, please do connect with them or share with them as well. If you haven't liked our videos, I never asked you guys as well to like, just let us know as well if you're enjoying this as well, if it's something that is connecting with you as well. So yeah, like the video. If you want to see the next episodes and find out when we're coming up as well, just subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Yeah. Oh, lots of love. Bye for now. Bye bye.